Do you see Puerto Rico as a colony of the United States?
No, I do not.
And when I'm President of the United States, I'm also President of the territories here in Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico has over 500 years of history, a rich blend of European, African, and Native American cultures. However, 6 centuries later, one major issue remains unresolved: its political identity.
It has 111 years that has been a colony of the United States of America.
Puerto Rico es un experimento.
Que sí, que es un hecho, que es una colonia.
Puerto Rico is a colony of the United States. Unfortunately, it's a colony of the United States.
Mientras que esto siga siendo colonia, los problemas van a seguir empeorando.
The island of Puerto Rico was first inhabited by the Taino Indians. In 1493, Spain took control of the island until the Spanish-American War in 1898, where the United States defeated the Spanish army. Under Article 2 of the Treaty of Paris of 1898, Spain seized the United States the island of Puerto Rico. In October 1898, a military government was established. Then, in April 12, 1900, the Foraker Act implemented a civil government. It incorporated Puerto Rico under the navigation system of the United States and extended federal jurisdiction to Puerto Rico. In 1917, the Jones Act replaced the Foraker Act and granted American citizenship to Puerto Ricans. Most government officials were appointed by the U.S. government, including the governor. In 1946, the UN asked the U.S. to nominate the first Puerto Rican governor, Jesus de Piñeiro. The next year, Act 362 was approved, which allowed for the election of governors in Puerto Rico. The first elected governor was Luis Muñoz Marín, who ran for the Popular Democratic Party in 1948. In 1950, the Act 600 was passed. It allowed Puerto Rico to create its own constitution and paved the way for the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico in 1952. The Act 600 created a political formula that provided a hybrid status between a colony and a state. Many viewed this as an undefined temporary status. Therefore, the challenge was to redefine the political situation of the island to determine if the people will seek independence, a new definition of Commonwealth or statehood. The Act 600 and the Commonwealth introduced a new political situation in the 1950s. We, the people of Puerto Rico, ordained and established this Constitution for the Commonwealth, which, in the exercise of our natural rights, we now create within our union with the United States of America. These are the first words of the Constitution. It is divided into 9 articles that emphasize the laws of the government. The first section states that the government shall be Republican in form, and its legislative, judicial, and executive branches, as established by this Constitution, shall be equally subordinate to the sovereignty of the people of Puerto Rico. The government also provides for a representative in the U.S. Congress who cannot vote, the resident commissioner in Washington, D.C. The government, in many ways, is similar to the United States. The establishment of the Commonwealth brought many successes. After its establishment, Puerto Rico's political status changed from protectorate to a Commonwealth. The Commonwealth gave people the control of the activities of the government.
The successes have been that you could say that we have had a vigorous democratic process instituted under it for local matters. We have developed political parties, strong political parties. We have had a system of government where parties alternate in power. It was product of domestic and international pressure after World War II to endow Puerto Rico with greater degree of self-government.
Obligar al Congreso de los Estados Unidos que le permitiera a Puerto Rico lograr su autogobierno.
The democratization of the island was an important advance. The Puerto Rican people can now select its own political leaders at all levels of local government. Furthermore, with the establishment of the Commonwealth, industries viewed Puerto Rico attractively for business. It turned the economy from an agricultural to an industrial one. Tax breaks were offered to companies that would establish themselves on the island. By 1993, more than 68% of workers were involved in manufacturing, services, government, or construction, and fewer than 3% were agricultural workers. The standard of living increased for many Puerto Ricans. The Commonwealth failed to meet many expectations. One of those was political. Many people view the Commonwealth as a colonial fraud. Puerto Rico remained colonized because Congress' plenary power has rule over constitutional changes in Puerto Rico, and ultimately is the determining judge on its political status.
With the establishment of the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico in 1952, it was a misleading establishment of a concept that did not solve the colonial status of Puerto Rico.
According to Jeff Bingaman, chairman of Committee Outreach of Democratic Party, in the past, efforts to adjust Puerto Rico's political status have been hampered by a failure of the federal government to clearly define these status options. This clearly demonstrates that Puerto Rico is a non-incorporated territory of the United States, a country that makes its own internal governmental choices, yet is subject to the policies of another country.
The President of the United States makes decisions, and we had no role in electing him to office. Every day, Congress considers legislation, approves laws, and we cannot participate in that process fairly. That's the problem with the current system.
The Commonwealth attempted to democratize the government institutions, but it failed to give its citizens true representation. Even though the economic changes after the Commonwealth had a positive impact, the economy stagnated. The agricultural sector was neglected. We became dependent on U.S. exportations. This had a negative impact since the Commonwealth did not change one of the provisions of the Navigation Act of 1900, in which all commerce with the U.S. can only be done in U.S. ships, which is the most expensive in the world, making the cost of products even higher. In addition, Puerto Rico remains a very poor country plagued by unemployment and low wages.
What we want is to make pacts by our country with the United States and many other countries so we can have a good relationship with them economically and politically.
The standard of living of the Puerto Rican working class, although among the highest in Latin America, remains significantly lower than that of the U.S. working class. In 1996, the average manufacturing wage was 60% of that paid in the U.S. In addition, the tax breaks that once helped transform the economy were eliminated in the 90s, affecting negatively the economy of the island. The passage of the Commonwealth in 1952 had its consequences. In response to the Act 600, the followers of independence carried a nationalist insurrection in 1950 in opposition to the Act 600. It started on October 30, 1950, when the insurrectionists arose in 14 towns. In Jayuya, Blanca Canales raised the national flag and the police was attacked. Led by Pedro Albizu Campos, the nationalist leader, they began to pressure the United States to cause change in the political status of the island. An unsuccessful attack on the Fortaleza, led by Raimundo Díaz Pacheco, occurred, and it was the climax of the nationalist protest. Afterwards, Pedro Albizu Campos was captured and sentenced to 84 years of prison. On November 27, 1953, the United Nations took Puerto Rico out of the classification of non-self-governing territory with the Resolution 748. The U.S. is now required to report on the steps they are taking to decolonize the island. Moreover, the discontent with the Commonwealth led to the continuous debate over the political status. The New Progressive Party emerged in favor of statehood. They defeated the pro-Commonwealth Popular Democratic Party in the 1968 election, which led to the emergence of the bipartisan system that exists today. The political struggle between the pro-Commonwealth and statehood forces has led to several plebiscites since 1967. In 1967, a plebiscite offered three choices: statehood, independence, or Commonwealth. The PPD's Commonwealth option won by 60.4%. In another plebiscite in 1993, the Commonwealth status won by 48.6%. There was another in 1998. In this one, the majority decided none of the above, since many did not agree with the new definition of the Commonwealth status, leaving an unclear cloud on what political status Puerto Rico should really have. In 2005 and 2007, the U.S. President's Task Force concluded that the island is a territory under power of the U.S. Congress. The PDP conflicted with this finding, stating that the Commonwealth status is legitimate and should hold without any change by any ruling power. On the other hand, the PNP agreed with the finding, probably because it favored its political mission of statehood in the long run. Recently, the Presidential Task Force concluded in 2011 that two new plebiscites will occur by 2012. Both plebiscites are aimed at redefining U.S. and Puerto Rico relations in order to finally solve the status question.
They believe Puerto Rico should hold a plebiscite and then decide which of those options we want to have. The four options are the current status, which is Commonwealth, Puerto Rico as a territory as I have described it, statehood, free association, and independence.